Welcome to Pal Keys, a show all about a guest memorable game, memorable boss stage, and lots of chat in between. Now, my guest this week is the Public Relations Manager at Heaven Media, which recently won Strategic Partner of the Year at the 2024 MCB Developer Awards. Now, for those unaware, Heaven Media is a leading creative marketing agency that caters to gaming and tech audiences. From Asus to Intel, Disney to IKEA, there's a good chance you've seen a bunch of campaigns led by Heaven in recent years. Now, when it comes to this week's guest, she's been in the PR industry for 3 years now and killing it in many areas. Whether that's creating press releases, taking names representing clients at events like Gamescom and EGX, and lots more. And that's before we even mention her recent mentorship at Limit Break. Offering her insights to underrepresented and marginalised groups working in the UK games industry, she can only be Jess Thomas. Jess, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm still melting from the summer, but I'm getting there. How about you?
All good, thank you. Yeah, much the same. Us UK folks can't handle the heat, right? So, yeah,
No.
I feel you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I mentioned in the intro about Gamescom, so did you manage to attend it?
Not this year, no. I've been to two previous Gamescoms, representing a wide range of clientele. While there, checking out the indie booth. I love the indie halls. Best part of
Yeah.
Gamescom, 100%. And we were super busy this year with Heaven as a company. We represented three clients there, designed some booths. Yeah, all good things, all good things. It's just, keep them busy as Gamescom is. We know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like I saw so much like announcer, but I imagine like in your role at and Heather Media just had so many like a lot of not just opportunities but a crazy busy time as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, from writing press releases, letting the media know what we're showing off, trying to get them to each booth. Yeah, it's a really fun time though. Like I love Gamescom. I love the planning for it.
Yeah.
I love the after part too. Like the event's finished, but for us in PR, oh no. Like there's always stuff to do. Like yeah, today it's just been a lot of follow-ups, a lot of fun emails, a lot of,
Mm.
sending across some visual assets. It's a lot of fun. Long story short, I love Gamescom. I'm hoping to go again next year, so we'll see.
Great. No, that's really great. Yeah, amazing. I mean, that's the thing really with since kind of E3 kind of wrapped up, it just feels like there's always other different events that kind of popped up, but
Mm,
also kind of also making more of a name for themselves now, which is really great. I
yeah.
mean, it seems like Gamescom is kind of like almost replaced E3 in a sense as well.
Mm.
And it's not even in America anymore. It's Europe, which is great. So it seems like there's a nice little change now in the air, it seems.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, we all love E3, we miss E3, but yeah, Gamescom Open Night Live. Jeff Keighley is killing it. Open Night Live is fantastic. It's a great show, and yeah, it's great to see some, EU representation, like you said. Like the US is great, but it's just geographically difficult to get to sometimes. So yeah, it's nice to have something a bit closer to home for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And obviously, from my research and like seeing your LinkedIn as well, it looks like you're just about to celebrate your 3 years at Heaven Media as well. So that must have kind of
Mm.
gone quick for you, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been 3 years in PR, which has just flown by. Like yeah,
Wow.
it's gone so fast. Like I remember making the leap from my previous job into this one, and it feels like yesterday. I can't believe how
Yeah.
quick time has gone, how much my career has just changed, and like I've been propelled in this whole new direction. That's amazing. I love what I do. It's just I can't believe how fast it's gone. Yeah, it's flown by.
Yeah. No, I bet. No, definitely. So I tell you what, we're going to like expand on that a little bit later.
Mm.
But I kind of wanted to go back really to the beginning, like of you, Jess, of like the first time that you kind of remember like playing the game. Like, what do you kind of remember from that moment, like all those years ago for you?
I remember it very vividly. Like, it was my Game Boy Color, and I was playing Pokemon Red, because I'm obsessed with Charizard. He's still my favorite, will always be my favorite. And I remember like begging my mum to get me a Game Boy, and it was always like, oh no, like, you don't need that. It's just a phase, it won't be that fun. And she bought me it, I think, just to shut me up, basically. And here we are, like 31 years later, still playing Pokemon, still gaming, still have my original Game Boy Color. Yeah, it's she really don't think she realized quite the hobby she'd started there for me. I think to her it's like, I'll get you this just to keep her quiet, and didn't work. And if anything, it propelled me into a career that I absolutely love now. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I take it, obviously, Pokemon Red, like your starter Pokemon was Charmander then.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Of
There's
course.
no other option.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, so from that then, like, did it kind of like lead into, like, say, maybe Pokemon Gold and Silver,
Mm.
Crystal, Sapphire? I mean, do you just kind of like remember like those moments like throughout your early life of just getting those games as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like it was Pokemon Red. I was collected the cards as well.
Oh,
I used to get the cards that always a Charizard on the front because in my mind, I was a kid, right? And I was like, oh, if it's got a Charizard on the front, he must be in the packet. And I got super lucky and I got him in my first packet, a shiny one, which I still have. I got it laminated. It's in my, or graded, sorry. It's in my cabinet downstairs.
well,
And yeah, I had Pokemon Gold was my next one, and then Ruby. I always went with the fire theme. So, Ho-Oh,
yeah,
Fire, Ruby, Groudon. I think I kind of dropped off the Pokemon bandwagon a little bit when it got to the DS era. I think by then I
yeah,
was on like PlayStation 2. I'd kind of moved on to not bigger and better things, but I was keeping it with the every time a new console came out, I had to have it. I was very like, well, I have to have this, I have to have that. Um, very fortunate that my parents were, very accommodating with that, and we were like, oh, okay, like fine, here's another console just to keep you
yeah.
quiet. Um, but PS2 I had a lot of time in as well, and GameCube. I had a lot of time on my
Great.
GameCube. Yeah, the GameCube is such an underrated console. Like it's such a shame. But yeah, I had a lot of time with the GameCube, especially now. Like I'm a really avid collector now of physical media. Like I love collecting
Oh,
games.
well.
Luckily, me and my fiance are very much the same in that. Whereas like he collects games from a young age, so did I. So now we have this huge collection together, and it's very extensive, I guess. Like our living room is a bit like a library. There's so much in there. But
Wow.
it's just it's wild to think about. Like physical media, it's so expensive now to
Yeah.
collect. I'm looking for like particular GameCube games, and yeah, like 70 quid a go. It's wild how much that's. I think that's down to COVID. I think a lot of that has come from lockdown and just people playing games. Then it became more of a not just a hobby. Like gaming's a whole staple now. Like it's odd to see from growing up, and it was a hobby, and it was a very male driven hobby. I think
Hmm.
that's why my mum was a bit like, you don't need a Game Boy because that's for boys. That's not for little girls, And it's as a woman in this industry and seeing how it's progressed throughout the years, it's amazing. And I'm so thankful to be part of that movement, to be that,
Hmm.
you know, if I can represent even just one woman or one anybody in this industry, then I'm happy and I've done my job correctly. But to see it go from a very male-led industry
Yeah.
to now I'd say it's on equal ground. So it's very good. It's yeah, I went a bit off topic there. But you know what I mean? Like from collecting and just it's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I mean, the thing is, like, I remember like when I got Pokemon Red as well,
Hmm.
and I was about, show my age here, about 11, 12, and it was like they're playing games or mentioning games like in the playground or anything else. It was almost like a taboo subject. You couldn't
Yeah.
really talk about it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, like when it came to like girls and women like chatting about games and stuff, I mean, I felt like that was kind of like more red because it felt like it was, yeah, it unfortunately was like a boys' club back in the day. And even the game magazines at the time kind of leaned into that. But thankfully, we're in a time now where it's like,
Yeah.
it's not just like genders, but it's like binary and everything. It's
Mm.
fantastic. And it's just so good. Yeah, it really is. And I think, to be honest, kind of like Pokemon almost kind of encouraged that as well. Because like when it got to like, say, Pokemon Crystal, you could choose a gender,
Yeah.
which just thought was great. So I imagine that maybe like when it got to that point as well, that must kind of like pulled you in even more. The fact that you could control like a
Mm.
girl like around the Pokemon world.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, and as well with Harvest Moon, very specifically, Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, a special edition, where
Yeah,
I got the US copy imported, and you could play as a woman instead of, of a man. Again, it was so now you say it's like, well, obviously you can play as a woman, but back then it wasn't it wasn't a thing, and it was a very, like I said, a taboo subject. And I don't know about you guys at school, but we had Game Boys banned from our school. Couldn't take them on the
all
playground.
right.
Yeah, couldn't take them to school. And Pokemon cards, they were banned from our school. Just I think it was the teachers were worried it was becoming a bit of a gambling thing, which like it was not, it wasn't, but
No.
no, not at all. But yeah, no, you are right. to go from like it being very male driven, and you if you got a game, you played a male character,
Mm.
fine. But yeah, now and even growing up, it's still I will always pick female characters, and that's not even just because I am a woman. It just I think it's important to show representation, obviously wherever you can, whether that be
Yeah.
in editorial media, gaming media, anything. And so yeah, you're right. Crystal came along, and it was like, oh wow, like this, like it opens. It's this the exact same game, right? But it
Yeah.
felt different, and it felt better. I feel.
Mm. Yeah. It's kind of like this age of like Game of the Year editions almost, but it was
Mm,
Crystal. It
yeah.
just felt really good. Yeah.
No, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I have to ask. You said about your collecting, and
Mm.
it's a weird thing because like I don't really collect a lot. Really, like the games that I used to have as a kid, they're pretty much like behind me, like in a box right now, like sealed in a, like maybe a bit tragic, but in like a Morrison's bag right now. I
Oh
just haven't got
no.
like the room right now to display them.
Mhm.
But when my wife and I were moving last year, I kind of came across some other games, and you know what? The value of it that you mentioned, it's a strange one because like I thought I'd just kind of sell this random Spider-Man game off Mega Drive,
Yeah.
and I kind of looked on the usual sites where you looked at the grading and everything. And I was like, oh, maybe I'd get like $60 or something.
Mm.
Put it on eBay, and it sold for like 450,
Oh
which was
wow.
just like what? Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know why. And still to this day, like I've never found the reason why. And it was based off the animated series in the 90s. It's on Disney Plus, but
Oh
I
yeah.
just got no idea why. But yeah, those are kind of the games that I'm happy to kind of like part with.
Mm.
But I mean, I've still got like my box Pokemon games and Sonic and everything. They will never leave me, like
Oh
ever,
no.
So I
Yeah.
mean, the way that I'm kind of like go into this is like, is there anything that perhaps is like maybe one of the rarest that you've got in your collection that you'll never part with, perhaps that's maybe in the living room right now?
Hmm. I mean, I've still got my box Pokemon Red and Gold back from like way back. I managed to snag a copy of Fire Red for the Game Boy Advance, which was it's so difficult to get hold of now, unless you want to spend
Yeah.
like, an extortionate amount of money on a box. But what else do we have? We have a my partner, it's a PSX, and
Mhm.
that's super rare. We've tried to, we'd never sell it ever. But looking at prices for that, that's yeah, it's so expensive. It's such an expensive hobby. I love the hobby, but oh wow, it's quite an expensive one. And I think when it comes to rarity, but for more like a sentimental value, I played a lot of Dog's Life on PS2 growing up. I
Right.
absolutely love that game. And it's like a core memory that I'd sit at I would persuade my parents to let me use the big TV downstairs. And I'd sit downstairs with my dog at the time, my childhood dog, and he would just sit with me and watch me play. And I know dogs don't watch TV, but it felt very sentimental. Like he was there. That's a really good memory growing up. Like I remember that so
Yeah.
vividly. And I still have my copy of that. So it's not rare in like a expensive sense, but it's
Mm.
rare to me in like that, you know, nostalgic sense. I would never ever part with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. Even though like the My Sentiment ones are in a Morrison's bag right now, but they are still sentimental to me and everything there. So that's the important thing.
Mm,
But no, that's great. I mean, I have to ask, like, you said about your almost kind of like journey, like from going from a Game Boy and
mm.
PS2 and GameCube. But was it during this time as well that you kind of wanted to perhaps see if there was like a career in the gaming industry as well, or did that perhaps come later?
Yeah, I think I've always had that in my mind in some capacity. Like I always collected the official PlayStation magazines. Obviously, that rebranded to Play a few years
Mm.
back, but I've always been like getting those demo discs. Always fun. Like I remember very vividly having the demo disc for Aragon that I played over and over again. Oh, yeah, I've always had a passion for it, and I've always wanted to see myself in that industry in some way. It felt a bit like a hurdle growing up, because again, like being very male driven, it was like, oh, maybe this isn't for, maybe it just isn't for women. And it kind of, I didn't accept that. I always fought against that like mindset, but I think growing up, it was always like, well, I love writing, I love drawing and creating. I want to put my passion of being creative into something in this industry. And I always did a bit of writing here and there, just for fun. Like way back when I was in primary school, I won an award at like the local library because I'd written.
Oh.
I played a game called Drac and the Ancient Gates way back on PS2. Um,
Yeah.
and I wrote I did a whole book on that about all the characters, all the backstory, design, draw the pictures from it. I don't think my school realized that I hadn't made this up. I was very
Right.
inspired by the game, but of course they were giving me a free, I think I won a free library card. So I was
Oh,
never gonna,
nice.
yeah, I was like, what, 7, 8? So I was never gonna turn down a free thing. But it's, yeah, so I keep going off topic, but to answer your question, yeah, I've always had the vision to include
Mm.
myself in this industry in some capacity. It didn't become clear to me how I was going to do that until I got a bit older and kind of understood it. The age of the internet came in, and I was
Yeah.
able to see things a lot clearer. Like I grew up with no internet, which that's another thing too. It's weird to now have internet. Like it just feels we take it for granted. We just do as a collective. And yeah, I remember growing up with dial up, and you couldn't be on the phone past 6 because somebody wanted to use the internet, and it was just it's good
Yeah.
time. Now I say it out loud. It was actually really good. It was good times. Like, but yeah, it was with the introduction of the internet and like seeing things more clearly. It became clearer to me that I wanted to write. I wanted to put myself in a writing role, whether that be journalism, but and then that did turn into ultimately a public relations career. But I
Mm.
didn't know about PR until, well, about 3 years ago. Honestly, it came
Mm.
as a complete, like, it came out of nowhere.
Mm.
Right place, right time, I guess. But I
Yeah.
think, which I always say to myself, I think having that passion too and that drive subconsciously
Mm.
pushed me into this role, whether I knew it
Mm.
or not. And here we are,
Yeah.
3 years. Well, here we are now talking about it, like 3 years later. So
Yeah, definitely. Over the wonders of the internet, it's a
yeah.
mad thing because if this was like the late '90s, I mean,
Mm.
we'd probably like be like meeting up like maybe at someone's house or even like a rented like room or something just so we could record this,
Mm.
record it onto maybe well, maybe on a computer, but it would take a while, maybe on a floppy disk, perhaps. I don't know.
Oh, a floppy
Um,
disk. Wow.
yeah,
What a throwback.
you know. Oh, indeed, yeah. So yeah, it's amazing just like how like everything's like kind of like progressed, and yeah, you're right, and it's great to like see what we can do now in the games industry and things. However,
Mm.
one of the things I kind of want to ask as well, because you said about freelance writing, but
Yeah.
around this time that I've seen from your history is like you can like worked as a barrister for a few years, a coffee barrister, not a law barrister, but a coffee barrister,
Yes.
and a lot of my day, like when I'm working away, is thanks to coffee because otherwise I don't know how I'd manage without it. So to be honest, I kind of want to get into like first, like how was it at this like coffee place? Like, was it always kind of something you kind of did on the side, like to maybe as you were freelance writing?
Yeah, the freelance writing I did was very much, it was a hobby. I did that very much on the side. I worked full time at the coffee shop. So I just wrote here and whenever I could. And to be honest, because of like the long hours at it was a 6-day work week. I worked like all the time, and my only time to game was when I was pitching for a code so I could write about it.
Mm,
Like, so that kind of became my time to game anyway. But yeah, it was just trying to find time in between, pouring coffees and serving latte art and doing this and that. And really, that's how I came to find Heaven Media. It's just
right.
one of those times I was on Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it now. And I was going through the PR request hashtag just to see what I could find. I was on a break at the coffee shop. I had a 15-minute break, and I was like, well, I'll use this to just have a look. And I came across somebody from Heaven Media at the time. They were looking for reviewers for Lemnis Gate from Frontier
Mm,
Developments at the time.
yeah.
And I just thought, well, I'll shoot my shot. I'll have a go. Like I didn't have much of a portfolio. I was like, oh, there's no harm in asking. The worst they can do is, not answer me, and that's fine.
Mm,
And they got back to me. I was like, yeah, here's a code. Like you've got a 2-week embargo, which was lovely. That gave me time to, actually play it and write it. And
yeah.
that's how this job came to be. I got back in touch with that the public relations specialist at the time. I was like, oh, here's my coverage. Thanks. Please keep me in mind for anything. And honestly, within a week of that, they got back in touch. I'm like, oh, we're actually hiring for a junior PR specialist. Would you want to be interviewed? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. Like, I'm never going to say no to that. And oh,
Yeah.
that's another good memory too of like because I couldn't get time off in the coffee shop. And I'm not going to name drop where I worked in case they happen to listen to this for any reason. But it's been a while. I couldn't get time off because I was the manager, and it was just like time off was not allowed, I guess. It didn't feel like it
Mm.
was allowed as a manager. So I had my interview for Heaven Media around the back of the shop near the bins. Very professional. And I was like, oh,
Yep.
that's it. I've blown it. Why are they going to hire me? I'm stood by a bin. And again, here we are like 3 years later, and it happened so fast. Like within a
Yeah.
week of putting that in, I had a job interview in
Wow.
a career that I had no idea about. Like I didn't know what PR was. I had no idea. And
Yeah.
it's wild to think in that 3 years, so much has happened in like
Yeah.
my career, my personal life and my career. And it's it's just weird how things work, like the timing was just right. If I hadn't have been on
Mm.
Twitter in that 15-minute window I had, this
Mm.
wouldn't have happened, or very unlikely would have happened. And I think it's weird to think like that. We wouldn't be here talking right now if I hadn't have gone on Twitter in my break, instead of doing the ordering that
Yeah.
I was supposed to do. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'll
mm,
tell you what, we'll put pause on that in a minute, because I kind of want to get into like your memorable game. That's like a hallmark of this podcast, and
mhm,
I'm kind of curious, really, Jess, as to what you've picked this, and then we'll come back to Heavy Media. So, what
yeah.
is it that you've picked as your memorable game for this segment?
Well, I touched on Dog's Life very briefly. Like that's a big, big core memory for me. But I think memorable game. I grew up as well playing Operation Genesis, a Jurassic Park like park simulation game. And
Yeah.
I love dinosaurs. I love Jurassic Park. It's my favorite movie. It should be everyone's favorite movie. It's so good. We ignore the new trilogy. That's not as good, but
Yep.
hey, whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Agreed.
and I grew up playing that a lot. I love that game, and that's it's weird how the world works, right? It comes full circle because I joined Heaven Media, and I think it's what made it so memorable for me. I joined Heaven Media, and I was doing some work at the time then with Frontier Developments and helping to launch Jurassic World Evolution, which I guess is just the, successor to Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. And
Mm.
it's just it's so wild how the world comes full circle sometimes. How I loved this game as a kid. I loved it growing up. I still played it, periodically when I found time. And then I got to help launch this successor to it. It was yeah, so that makes it memorable, as well as like Pokemon and everything else. That to me sticks out as a memorable game. Memorable game for me. But I've still got it downstairs. I played it over the weekend. Like,
Oh, wow.
I love that game. I love all the cheats. I love getting all the money. And then, if I'm feeling particularly chaotic, which I don't recommend, deleting all the gates and just letting my dinosaurs do whatever they want. And whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's great. I mean, which console did you play it on? Was it PS2?
It was PS2, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a funny thing. I remember playing it on PC back in
Mm,
the day, and it was so good. I mean, it just had that like almost like realistic, also like Disneyland, Universal Studios esqueness of it. It was
yeah.
really fun, and even like I know like when you completed the missions, there was this like this Site B, I think it was called,
Hmm.
where you could just like just let them roam free essentially.
Go wild. Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. Did you manage to like do Site B as well like in the days when it was out?
Hmm. Oh yeah. Is the new
Yeah,
for Site B? Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, just that.
yeah.
Well, I built the park. Now I can get into the more chaotic stuff, which I kind of brought into my park. I guess the whole point was to do it on this separate island, but uh, that's what games are for. It's all subjective. You play it how you want to play it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's the thing with Jurassic Park games. I mean, like they're so varied. Like even from like the early days.
Mm.
I mean, like I remember I was gifted well, it's been re-released as part of a collection, but Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, like this 2D
Hmm.
platformer,
Yeah.
really great, like just random as anything. And you can play it on Switch now, which is amazing.
Mm.
But yeah, like you say, like games, like Operation Genesis and then Evolution, it's just so good now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing, like what's out there, really. I mean, do you feel like maybe Evolution is like your ideal Jurassic Park game, or maybe you're maybe holding out for something more, perhaps?
I think I think from yeah, it's my idea Jurassic Park game. Like I do love the premise of, build your own park, and I love strategic games anyway. Like
Hmm.
that Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster. I very much love that kind of game. So yeah, it ticked every single box for me. I think
Yeah.
another great Jurassic Park game, I don't know if you've played it, is Jurassic Park Warpath on the PlayStation 1.
Oh, is that the fighting game?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so
Yes.
good.
Oh, yeah, so random yet so yeah, amazing. It's
Oh,
just
it's
yeah.
fantastic. It's so good. Like that and the Lost World game, which I never finished. I still haven't finished now. I couldn't do it as a kid.
Oh.
I can't do it as an adult. It's just so hard. The difficulty spike in the middle of the game is like, how are we supposed to do that as kids? You know, I can't even do it now as a 31-year-old woman, let alone a 10-year-old child back then.
No, no, no. I see what you mean. Yeah, it's something else. But yeah, God, that's just unlocked like a core memory. Like that's just mad. I remember seeing that Warpath in a magazine and thinking it was like one of those April
Mm,
Fool's jokes, you know, they used to put in magazines of like
yeah,
certain things. And yeah, when I saw that, I thought it can't be real. It was real, and I think
it
it
was
came as a
very
demo.
real. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to find that actually, Jess. Like later on after we record, because yeah, that is a
Oh, you
it's a
should.
unique game.
You should. Let me know how you get on.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh man. No, great choice. No, really great choice. So yeah, so we'll go back to the media. So,
Mhm.
like I say, that was just an amazing kind of like transition from going like, standing by the bins in an interview and then, have a media
Mhm.
and there you go.
Yeah.
So I imagine that was also after COVID as well. So you were maybe going to the office perhaps as well?
Yes, it was August 2021. So we have an office. It's a fully remote role, but
Yeah.
we do meet up a couple of times a year, which is lovely. It's very it feels ironic sometimes to have this like role that's very, community driven, but
Mm.
it's fully remote. It was a huge adjustment to go from, you've worked in retail, seeing
Yeah.
people face to face all the time to then behind a desk. It was a very odd adjustment, but super grateful. I wouldn't change anything.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's great. So for anyone who might be like, unsure as to like what a junior publicist like, what their job would be. I mean, what was like kind of your role like in the beginning of Heaven Media, and like what did it kind of involve in the maybe the first year, perhaps?
Hmm. Yeah, so the first year, a lot of it was, getting to the ropes of what PR is. There's so much, there's so much more to it, and I don't even, I'm not even just saying this because I work in PR. It's amazing how much there is and how much we can do as PR
Yeah.
professionals for a game or any kind of product, really. But I think my first year, it was a lot of, getting to grips of what PR was or is, learning media lists, which I love media lists now. I have so many of them, but a lot of it was building, my relationships with the media, building them
Mm.
lists, and say helping to launch. I think in my first 6 months, I'd helped to launch Jurassic World Evolution. So that was
Mm.
not the baptism of fire is the wrong way to put it, but it was a quick, going from I'm not sure what PR is to, oh wow, now I'm launching this game and I can't believe I get to work on this like IP that I absolutely love. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it was a turbulent first year, a great first year. I learned so much. I learn every day. I learn all the time. But yeah, it definitely propelled me very quickly into the PR world. It's very fast moving. This whole industry is so turbulent and fast, ever evolving. As
Mm.
we know we both work in it, and yeah, there's always stuff to learn. Always got to keep on top of the trends. You fall behind. It's so hard to keep back up again. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess like, around the time that you joined Heather Media, I mean, I feel like kind of social media was in like a bit of a change as well
Mm,
because, had like the rise of TikTok and video and Instagram Reels and, I'm not even going to get into like the mess of X and Twitter and everything going on there.
yeah.
But I imagine there were kind of a few challenges there as well to, perhaps try and maybe adapt some of the campaigns to certain social medias and video as well, perhaps.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Trying to keep on top of these trends and trying to justify why we're doing a certain thing. It can be quite
Mm,
challenging because, it's especially social media, it's been set in its ways for so long. And you're right, yeah, come like post-COVID, it changed so rapidly and it's trying to keep up with the times and trying to adapt our PR practices to fit these new trends and these new socials. It's tricky. Every day is a school day. We learn every day. I said, especially with X, how it's just constantly changing. You can't seem to ever make a
mm,
good strategy on that because as soon as you do, it gets changed again. But
mm,
with no, it's just out of our control. But no, you're right. It's the bringing in new socials and just trying to implement them into our strategy in the most effective way. Because if it's not going to benefit the client we work with, then there's no need to put that time into it. It's not beneficial for us, it's not beneficial for them. Ultimately, it's not beneficial for the final product.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, definitely. And I think kind of like turning on its head, I mean, it must have been like such like a great feeling, like when you saw like the campaigns that you worked on, perhaps like maybe going viral or being featured in like other things. It could be like magazines or maybe even billboards or advertisements. I mean, that must have been a great feeling to see as well, like, like making you think that, I was a part of that too.
Yeah, even just being the smallest part of something, it still feels so rewarding. To me
Yeah,
personally, anyway, I even if I've had the smallest influence in something, you know what, I helped on that. And I
yeah.
feel great that I got to help on that. Like I did temporarily leave Heaven. I went to a different agency. And in that small time I was there, I was at Future Friends Games and it was very indie driven. I helped on some Vampire Survivor stuff, which is again another fantastic game. And I see that now still doing absolutely incredible. It's a great game. And even now, I don't even work on it, but it's still like, oh yeah, I had a tiny part on that, and it's very rewarding for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%.
Mm.
And I imagine as well, like like as like kind of like the years pass and you're kind of like getting to the point where maybe perhaps you're kind of maybe seeing people enter the industry maybe or can like
Mm.
switch tasks from maybe like journalism to PR and things.
Hmm.
And I imagine as well, like with your part in like Limit Break as well, it's to kind of help like new people like entering like the PR industry as well, and maybe kind of to give them advice as to what you've learned so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems a very natural progression to jump from journalism to PR. You see that happen quite a lot, and I guess I fall into that in a sense. Like I wasn't a journalist; I did a bit here and there, but yeah, it seems the natural trend to if you like writing and have a knack for it, then PR is the role for you. It just is. There's so much writing. There's so much, but if you love that, which if you're a journalist, you obviously love writing for the most part. So yeah, it just seems like natural progression and being part of Limit Break and being able to, help propel people in a way that I got that assistance. If I can do that, like I said earlier, if I can just influence somebody, even in the slightest bit, then I've done my job and I feel
Yeah.
amazing at what I've done. It's very important, I think, to celebrate your wins. I'm finding that recently. It's very important to do that. And it's good to reflect. And I think it's beneficial. Like I spoke to a couple of people for Limit Break. They had a lot of questions and I was able to give them a lot of answers, and it felt so rewarding to be able to share my experience and it help them in that on their way. It's yeah it's I keep saying very rewarding, but it is. This whole role is very rewarding, whether it's helping media get the right assets and get the right information, or helping certain clients fulfill their full potential. It feels great to just be even just the middle person. It just feels great to be that person and to be able to help where I can.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like you mentioned at the start as well, like attending Gamescom as well, like a couple of times. I mean, that must have been like a great experience as well, like kind of
Mhm.
networking, like in person as well, and kind of showcasing like what you were working on as well to different people.
Yeah, 100%. Like I went to Gamescom within I think it was just over a year that I'd been in PR. Yeah, it would have been, yeah, August. So yeah, I think I just hit my year anniversary and was flown out to Cologne for the week to represent a client at the time. And it's so fun. Gamescom is such a good
Yeah,
laugh. Like it's so lovely to see people, especially, COVID, it did what it did. The world shut down. And it was a concern, like, are events going to bounce back? Is this even going to be a thing anymore? And
yeah,
with E3 doing what it did and just closing down, it was a concern for a little while. Like, well, is this it now? Is the world so digital that this is all and nothing wrong with a digital showcase at all, but getting to like network in person is so good. It's just good for the soul. When you have a fully remote role, it's so nice to like get out there and think, oh, I've
yeah.
emailed you so many times. And it's so nice now to actually see a person and talk to you face to face and not just me following up with another email. That's the joy of PR.
Yep, yep. I've been there. I've woken up to a few emails going, "Oh, just checking that you've missed this," and I've like, "Well, yes, I have missed this. I'm sorry. I will reply now." So
Oh,
yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
yeah.
No, 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 that's great. So I think we'll just kind of like pause it for a little bit because we'll go to the memorable boss stage now,
Mhm.
part of the podcast. So you mentioned quite a fair few games here, Jess, and I'm interested to kind of see like, what you pick. I mean, if it's something from Warpath, that would be amazing. But if not, Happy to go with it. So, like, what have you picked?
Oh, I wish it was something from Warpath, but I've gone for another game that I haven't mentioned yet because I played so many games. It's called Drakengard. Again, back on the PS2.
Right.
Oh, love that game. Squaresoft, well, Square Enix, whatever, was Squaresoft back then. And it's a secret boss from like a branch E, it's called. And if you unlock that ending, looking back at it now, I don't know how I did that as a kid because you have to 100% everything, find every weapon, every treasure chest. And again, there was no internet or very few and far between. Like you had to wait for a magazine, which came out every couple of weeks if you wanted help.
Yeah.
I managed to 100% that as a kid, and I think it's just from enjoying the game so much. You're a cool knight and you get to fly around on a dragon. To me, that's like the perfect game. So I managed to 100% that just from purely enjoying it and purely just spending my time with it. And yeah, you get the secret boss, and it branches then into Nier that came out again the
Right.
PS3 and Xbox 360. So it's a very memorable boss because it's so difficult. I tried to do it recently. It's weird how like as a kid I could do it fine, but now
Yeah.
I seem to have lost all my coordination. It's a musical boss. So like but this the camera goes all over the place and you have to like hit X on the beat. But you can't see when the
Mhm.
beat hits you because the camera is panning off somewhere else. Oh, it's yeah, as a kid, no problem. I guess I had the coordination, but as an adult, it's gone. I can't do it anymore. So that's a memorable boss for me. I remember spending a lot of time with that game. A lot of time.
Yeah.
I say a lot of time trying to unlock the ending. I had no idea about the ending. It came as a complete surprise when I got the notification, like, "Oh, you've 100% of this. Now move on to branch E." And it was like, "E, okay, like we'll have a go."
Mm.
And oh yeah, don't know if you played it, but I recommend it. Very good.
Yeah. So was this the first game in the series?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I did. I remember renting it. Would you believe? Like from Blockbuster back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, yeah. It was definitely like a great little game.
Mm.
Yeah. It just had all these like great little modes as well. I mean, like air mode, ground mode, and everything else. And then you had all the different endings. And like you say, it was just something else. And
Mm.
yeah, it was just really good. But like you say, like the bosses was just something else, especially for a game in 2003. I think it was released in, and it was
Yes.
just yeah, just so good, and yeah, just mad. I'm kind of like surprised it's not really seen like a remaster or anything, to be honest, because it just feels like it would be
It's
ideal for it.
it's definitely overdue one. It's yeah, 2003. Gosh, that made me like that shot me back in time there. But yeah, I guess with the Near Automata doing as amazing as it did and Near Replicant, hopefully someday, we might see something. But I
Hmm.
think on the Square Enix, this just made me think about it as well. On the Square Enix bandwagon while we're here, another memorable boss, if I'm allowed to have two.
Go for it,
Uh
yeah, go for it.
cool. Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time. My favorite franchise. I love Kingdom Hearts. And yeah, the final boss in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, again, like a secret boss that I had no idea existed until from just playing it. That stuck in my mind. That sticks in my mind. It still does. I never beat it. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I will. I feel like a fraud being like, it's my favorite game, but I never actually finished it.
No, I get. I kind of. I think I know which one this boss is. Is it from a certain Final Fantasy
Yeah,
game?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yep, yep. Definitely, I know the game. Yep, I know the boss. Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. Yeah, that was something else. Yeah, I. Oh, yeah, that's. Oh, I'm just getting like flashbacks from it now. Yeah, that is just the hardest boss I've definitely kind of played in. Yeah. Oh man.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
sorry to bring that
speechless
up.
now. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just brings about like a terrible memory of me just like raging, just thinking like, why can't I beat this certain character? I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil it, but yeah, it's just amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, after us, then really Kingdom Hearts. I mean, obviously we had like the third game that released a few years ago.
Hmm.
We've got the fourth game that's confirmed. That's
Yes.
well, hope allegedly coming soon. But is there
Uh,
anything that maybe you want to hoping to see really in this fourth entry?
I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 gets a lot of flack that it doesn't
Hmm.
deserve. And I don't know if I'm just saying this because I'm an avid fan and it can do no wrong for me, but I think I want a lot of more of what Kingdom Hearts 3 did. I like the
Right.
direction, like the art direction Kingdom Hearts 4 is going in. I think I've
Hmm.
just got this nostalgic tie especially to number two. Like I love that art style. You know, the Tetsuya Nomura character art as like part of your health icon. That's one thing I do hope that they at least bring back number four, even if it's just like
Mm,
you toggle it on and off. If people want
yeah.
hyperrealism, then like fine. But it just feels weird to have this hyper-realistic city in like Tokyo, and then you got Donald Duck walking around. Like it just doesn't quite look right, you know?
No.
No, it doesn't quite look right. Like I remember seeing the trailer and being like, blown away by it. And my fiance can attest to it. I had a good cry about it because I love Kingdom Hearts. Like I can't believe we're getting a fourth one.
Mm,
And then afterwards, I kind of thought like, yeah, this is like hyper realistic, and I'm not sure I gel with that yet because it feels weird to see like Goofy and
mm.
Donald just wandering around in this like hyper realism. Yeah, so I guess I want them to go back to the old art style. Whether they will, I don't know, but that would be a dream.
Yeah, yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I have to say, like when I first saw that trailer, and I thought, oh, this like looks really good. It could be like a Final Fantasy like spin-off of Seven Remake. Who knows? And then
Mm.
yeah, when I saw like the trailer play out, I thought, okay, that is a choice, but all right, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm like you, Jess. I'm not really sure on it yet because I get flashbacks to kind of like watching like this is a reference and a half, but like the Simpsons episode when like Homer like kind of goes to the real world, like being a 3D
Oh, behind that
graphic and he
bookcase.
appears. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking, is it gonna be like Kingdom Hearts now? We're gonna like see like kind of like Homer Simpson maybe arrive now because again he's part of Disney. It could happen,
Oh,
but
you're right. I hadn't even thought of that.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, hey,
yeah.
we'll see. That'd be
Yeah, so I'm interested. Yeah, I
yeah.
am interested. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts, man, like it's so good. It's such a,
Hmm.
like a fun series because I never expected it to kind of get to where it is now, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
it's so
100%.
much fun.
Oh, and with
Yeah.
all the spin-offs, like admittedly, I'm like, oh, I love Kingdom Hearts, my favorite franchise. Like I jumped straight from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2 because that feels like the natural thing to do. But of
Mm.
course, Kingdom Hearts 2 is technically Kingdom Hearts 3, and then you got Chain of Memories that was on the Game Boy Advance. They seem to release everything on different consoles, which just,
Yeah.
now is fine. Now I have adult money and I
Mm.
can buy all these consoles, but as a kid, booting up Kingdom Hearts 2 and you're introduced to this brand new character. Well, he wasn't even brand new, but to me it was brand new. Like for the first few hours I had no idea what was happening. I loved it and I loved being there, but no idea. Like you just got this because I'm gonna see Sora and Donald and Goofy. It's gonna carry on from number one. No,
Yeah.
not at all. Suddenly you're this new guy called Roxas and you're just running around Twilight Town and you have no idea what's going on. Oh, yeah. But you never know. Could be Homer Simpson. That could be the crossover that no, we all want.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. And I have to ask as well because like I think during lockdown as well. I mean, a lot of the DLC was announced for Super Smash Brothers, and obviously, the rumors of like Sora possibly
Hmm.
appearing too. So, I could be, totally wrong on this, Jess, but were you like an avid fan of like Super Smash Brothers, and were you like amazed like when you saw like Sora be announced for Smash Brothers as well?
Yeah, 100%. I played a lot of Super Smash on I think it was Super Smash Bros. On the N64. I think it was just called
Yeah.
Super Smash Bros. And then
Mm.
Melee on the GameCube. I didn't play the Wii one. Like I love my Nintendo Wii, but I don't know, I didn't seem to play much on it. Weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've always been a huge fan of that game. I used to have my childhood friends come over, split screen on the N64, and I always picked Bowser. Bowser was my main up until Sora joined the
Yeah.
roster, and now obviously it's Sora. I'm not going to pick anyone else. So yeah, there was all these rumors went there for years, and it's like, oh, the
Yeah.
licensing, surely not. Like, there's no way. Like, and every time a new character came out, got my hopes up, and then it'd be like Minecraft Steve or something else, and I'm like, well, that's fine for the Minecraft fans, but what about us Kingdom Hearts fans? And
Mm.
being the last character, I remember that trailer, and it looked like a sword in fire, and I was like, oh, it's going to be something from
Mm.
Dark Souls, which is again fine. I love Dark Souls, but it's not quite Kingdom Hearts. And oh yeah, again when that transitioned to the Keyblade, my poor fiance had to just deal with me screeching. Oh, I had headphones. I think I forgot how loud I was being, and he was in the kitchen. I remember him running up like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I was like, "Oh," like crying over this virtual character. And something when I say it out loud, I'm like, "Oh, it makes me sound silly," but actually, I think that just
No.
comes from a place of passion where I've loved
Yeah.
this industry and this for years, and I'm so thankful that that stayed with me, and I can just take it with me, hopefully, throughout the rest of my life and pass
Mm.
that on, and you know. make anybody I have in the future play Kingdom Hearts because they have to. It's a given.
Mm.
I'm trying so hard. Now it's out on Steam. My poor colleagues have just had to deal with me being like, "Have you bought it on Steam yet? I can buy it for you." Like, I will. Please play Kingdom Hearts. Oh gosh. Yeah, don't reach out to any of my colleagues. They'll probably tell you how annoying I am about Kingdom Hearts.
No, no, definitely not. No, I will not reach out. No, that's the thing with Kingdom Hearts. I mean, like it was great to see it on the PC. I just feel like I'm waiting for it to come on the Switch now. Really, I feel like it's
Yeah,
overdue.
it
It'd be so
totally.
good.
Yeah, and like it's on the cloud, right? But it's just it ain't the same. It ain't good. No,
No.
I tried it. I tried to like it. It's just not there. Cloud gaming is fantastic, but now I want like a proper physical copy. But if they made a
Yeah.
collector's of that in some way, I don't know, you got like your own Keyblade. That's wishful thinking, but
Mm.
oh, I'd be all over it. I'd buy it multiple times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Oh, yeah. God, that was definitely like a side quest there from Memorable Boss, but that's amazing, really. Just going
Yeah.
from Memorable Boss to Kingdom Hearts, that is pretty good. But yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is really like, I suppose, like, with all the games that, you've collected and played and made like a massive impact, I imagine as well that kind of really inspires like how you kind of maybe approach certain campaigns from
Mhm.
like certain like the games that are kind of like, that you're covering and things, and kind of feel like, well, this could like be this could be drawn from like something that I've seen perhaps in Kingdom Hearts or
Mm.
or something else. I mean, I'm not saying obviously you copy it,
No.
but I imagine maybe it kind of gives you maybe inspiration as to how you could approach it for maybe marketing things or press releases or video content perhaps.
Absolutely. Yes, it's great to draw inspiration from. I think your favorite things, 'cause again, you can pour your passion into what you do.
Mm.
And I think as well, it really benefits me personally that I have a two POVs, this kind of thing. Like I can see a campaign from a PR point of perspective, which I'd like to think so, but I can also see it from a, consumer POV. And I'm like, well, if I was looking to play a new game, what would I be looking for? What kind of marketing would draw me in? And I'm able to take that insight that I have from, growing up and seeing it in magazines and seeing it on TV, billboards, as you said, events, and I can put that into my campaigning now because I have been gaming a long time. I game all the time and I feel confident and, pretty not big-headed, but yeah, confident in my ability to say, like, well, as a consumer, this is what I'd want. So I will take that and put it into my campaigning, especially with indie developers. Like it's so rewarding to give them that platform that they deserve. Like the world, but this industry needs more indie developers. It just does. Like AAA games are fine, but the creative and the artistic flair comes from indie developers. And to give them that platform in my PR, which I can then, I draw from my own inspirations, from like I said, my favorite games, my favorite media, to then pour that into the marketing that I'm doing.
Mm.
I'm gonna say it again, broken record, but it's so rewarding. It just is. I can't think of any other way to describe it other than just it's rewarding, and I love that I get to do this every single day. Like I'm very, very fortunate.
Yeah, yeah, never. That is really great. And the thing is, I feel like, and this is kind of like something as well, I kind of wanted to touch on before we
Mm,
ended, is like, with indie games. I mean, I just feel like it's exploded so much into its own thing for maybe
mm,
like the past decade now. I mean, I remember like watching, Indie Game the movie, watching Super Meat Boy playing it, Braid, and now, time recording, a Nintendo Direct has just dropped. We've
mm.
seen Indie World, all these amazing games. I mean, hands up, I was unaware about Pizza Tower, and that just looks my kind of thing. It
Oh
looks
yeah.
amazing,
Hmm.
you know. So I imagine as well, yeah, like you say, I mean, it's just great to kind of like give these indie games a platform as
Mm.
to how they can kind of market themselves in certain ways, and yeah, just kind of see how it goes on these consoles that could, showcase games in 4K and 120 frames per second. But
Hmm.
I think some indie games kind of really kind of showcase in their gameplay really and their appeal.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, 100%. Like there's so many. I remember watching Undertale, a lot of Undertale playthroughs as a kid. Oh, as a kid, like a young teenager into my teenage years, and thinking like, I think growing up I was quite naive to indie games, and I was always very like, well, if it's not AAA, then yeah. I don't think I even know what the term AAA meant, but you know what I mean. In my mind, it was
Mm,
like, well, if it's not a big company like Bethesda, Square Enix, etc., then is it really that important? And gosh, I was so naive to it, and now I can't believe my mindset was completely shifted, and I'd much rather Like Pizza Tower, I'd much rather play that than I would a AAA game. And yeah, you're right, with all these new consoles, there's so many opportunities for indie developers to get their foot in the door. And it only takes that one marketing campaign to just kick off and to
Yeah.
take off. Like, I mean, look at Vampire Survivors. That went from 0 to 100 so fast. And I work with a lot of indie developers now, and it's so lovely that they have that trust in you to just like they give you their whole world basically. Like to them,
Yeah.
their game is their whole world, and it's quite scary. No, scary is the right word. Yeah, it is quite daunting to think, oh gosh, like it's not make or break if I don't quite get this right, but I have a huge influence into how this game does from a marketing perspective, and to tap into these different trends and be able to like I don't like social media. I don't think anyone does these days, but it's so important to, keep up with social media and see these trends that you can then, turn into your marketing. Yeah, it's I'm not going to say rewarding again. I've got to find a different word for rewarding, but it's remarkable then to be able
Yes.
to spotlight these indie developers and give them the platform that they deserve. I think this is going off topic slightly, but I think this industry is so driven on greed. And, you've got these AAA companies, not going to name anybody, 'cause, I don't need to, but you know what I mean? Like you've got these CEOs that are like, well, I need to make more money, so we'll get rid of all these talented people. And it's such a waste of talent, and it's so driven
Yeah.
by greed, where you've got indie developers who, and rightfully so, you see so many people who are let go, like, oh, just do our own thing. And like as they should, they should showcase their talent. And I'm so glad more people are doing that. I'm not glad people aren't getting laid off, but I love to see the rising from that. I guess rising from the ashes of, yeah, this awful thing happened, but now, I can tune into my true artistic vision and showcase it in any way I want to. I just think that's great. I think to see a positive from such a like, being laid off is dreadful. It is, I've been laid off before and it's horrendous. So I totally understand. But to see that and to think, you know what, I can just turn this into something positive and I can turn it into something so much better. That's that's got to be rewarding. I've got to find a different word. I have to pull up a dictionary or something, but that's got to be amazing to just
Yeah.
have that creative freedom to do your own thing, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's just great to kind of, I can load up the eShop, I can load up the PlayStation Store, Steam, and there's just all these indie games that I can play right now, and it's just so good. Yeah, and yeah, it's just so much fun, really, especially when it comes to like multiplayer games as well. I mean, it's just so nice to kind of have all this like ready to go and available, and the fact that Nintendo is marketing this as well, working with PR brands like Heavy Media and everyone else to make
Yeah.
sure that millions of people watch it now, which I feel like is just so great to see, really, compared to kind of like when, we were, using our Game Boys, that wouldn't have happened.
No,
So,
no,
yeah, it is great.
yeah, completely. Like, it's so nice to see, like I said today, there was actually a Nintendo showcase, indie showcase today. It's only a few years ago. Yeah, indies would never have been showcased like that. And again, I was very naive to it, and I admit to it. I've changed now. But way back I used to watch the Xbox showcases, and it'd be like, oh, now onto the indie section. And I would naturally switch off because in my mind it's like, well, is this worth watching? And even saying that now, I can't believe I thought like that. Because now I love the indies, and it's just like that's like my main focus. Uh, no, you're right. This industry has come on leaps and bounds, whether that be, the whole gender thing or the binary thing, and also this now showcasing what deserves to be showcased, and that is indies. I'll always advocate for indie games. Like they're fantastic. There needs to be so many more of those. And every time I see a new one pop up on my feed, I will wish list that naturally. Like it's so important. From a PR POV, it's so wish listing so important. So anyone's listening to this and thinks, should I wish list that game? Yes, yes, you should. If it's an indie game, you absolutely should. Please do.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think really to wrap up, really, I mean, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't ask this, really. But because we're approaching the Christmas season and everything there, and is there anything perhaps that you're working on right now that is going to be perhaps made available in the next coming months? Anything that we should be looking forward to, perhaps that you're perhaps working on, or Heaven Media that we should be looking out for, perhaps?
hmm Well, in the joy of NDAs, it's difficult to disclose a lot of things, but I'm working on a lot of cool stuff into early 2025. So not so much this year, but definitely into early next year, which if you're on my media list, which I imagine a lot of people are, because I like to email people all the time, you'll hear from me. But yeah, we are, as a company, we're working on so many cool things, and it's so, I'm not going to say rewarding, but it's so fantastic that we get to do this every single day. And yeah, to answer your question, because I keep going off topic, there's loads that we're working on heading into the end of this year. So yeah, keep an eye out. Be sure to keep you all updated where we can.
Amazing. No, that's great. And I think with that, Jess, I think we'll wrap up really. It's
Yep.
been really great chatting to you, Jess, I have to say.
Mm.
And
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not going to say I'm going to say it's a rewarding chat. I'm going to say it's a very fun chat. It could be rewarding in the episode title, but yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, amazing. No, thank you for having me. It's been lovely to chat and just yap about everything I'm passionate about. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and I'm definitely going to be playing Warpath later on.
Oh,
So
good.
on that note, where can people find yourself on social media, and what's kind of the best way to kind of keep track with Heavy Media's releases?
Yeah, so me personally, if you find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm across all major platforms, but Heaven specifically, best place to keep up to date with us would be LinkedIn. You'll find us on LinkedIn daily, posting about what we're doing, what's upcoming, what we've been doing, a lot of case studies. We love sharing what we've been doing, giving people that insight. Because I didn't realize up until, I got really into the depths of PR, there's so much to it and it's so interesting. So it's so cool to be able to share that with people. So if you're interested in statistics and, figures and all that good stuff, then yeah, LinkedIn's the place for us.
Amazing. No, that's great. So yeah, we're up there, Jess. So once again, really great talking to you, and yeah, looking forward to kind of what's coming out next year.
Cool. Thank you.